Welcome back. Now, it's the world's latest craze, a cell phone app that allows you to hire a taxi from your mobile phone. Uber connects you with a driver in minutes. But the company, which gained much popularity, has also had its fair share of negative publicity, like the incident over New Year's Eve when consumers were charged 9 times more than they are used to paying. So this evening on Moneyline, we're taking a closer look at Uber, and joining us now in studio is spokesperson Alon Litz. Alon, thanks so much for your time this evening.
Thanks so much for having me.
As I said, Uber, very popular. I know a lot of people who use the app and have used the service and have been quite happy. And then there was a storm of tweets and Facebook messages on New Year's Eve. What happened?
So with New Year's Eve, obviously there's crazy demand. Everyone wants to go out at the same point in time. So in order to meet that demand, we have a concept called dynamic pricing. And what dynamic pricing does, it increases prices based on the demand. And the intention there is to get more drivers out on the road. We don't employ any of the drivers. We don't own any of the cars. So these individuals are independent. They're completely free to do what they like on New Year's Eve. So with higher prices, they are then incentivized to come on the road and complete trips on the Uber platform.
But can you justify a price surge of 12 times what someone is used to paying? How is this calculated?
So we were very careful in communicating upfront that there would be a price surge. I think what's quite unusual about Uber is that we actively messaged out on the day before, on the day of New Year's Eve, telling people that prices were going to be higher and actually warning them that make alternative plans. This is when prices are going to be at their highest. If you can wait, great, because prices will come down. The thing about surge pricing is that pricing is not high all the time. It's purely driven by the demand and supply dynamic at that point in time.
All right, that explains the communication to consumers, talking to them before and then talking to them on the day. But how do you determine this price?
So surge is driven by an algorithm, and that algorithm is based on supply and demand dynamic. So as demand increases and demand starts to outstrip supply, prices increase. As supply then frees up, prices come down. So it's really basic economics at the end of the day. What's also very important is that when you book the trip using the application, not only did we notify you before, but you'll be notified in the application at the time of booking your trip. So it will clearly state prices have increased, and they are, for example, 6 times higher than normal fares. And in the application, it will state that, for example, instead of the normal per kilometer rate of 11 Rand per kilometer, rates are now 66 Rand per kilometer.
Okay, so you're going to keep using the dynamic pricing even though people aren't happy?
I think our view there is we'd rather be expensive and reliable. So we'd rather give people the option to take a ride at a higher price point. If they choose not to ride, then prices will come down as the supply frees up, and then they can choose to ride at a cheaper price point.
Okay, well, another concern that's been raised, and I'm sure you're aware of, the taxi drivers in Cape Town whose cars were impounded. You've said these are not your taxi drivers. Obviously, you don't employ them. They are all independent contractors. Yeah. But what sort of background checks do you do on people? So, how do you ensure that when I get into an Uber taxi after this program, that I can trust that guy to drop me off at home?
Yeah, so safety is very important to us. All drivers on the system have a document called a professional driver's permit. In order to qualify for that professional driver's permit, you can never have had a criminal background, you need to have a driver's license, and you need to have a clean driving history. Okay. When we came into the market, we looked at this system and we said it's not enough for us. So we've instituted an additional criminal background check. And I guess the scary thing about that is that we're finding 15 to 20% of the drivers that have professional driver's permits actually have some form of criminal history. So what that allows us to do is identify those drivers and ensure that they don't get access to the system.
So are you getting rid of them? I mean, what's the
So
plan?
If there is a hit on the platform, then they won't get access. We won't activate them as a partner.
What's a hit?
A criminal background hit.
Okay, so if they are already in your system, you'll remove them.
So they wouldn't be allowed access to the system with the hit on the on their name. So it's a check that we do upfront before they're given access to the system.
So in the cases of these ones who didn't have the licenses, what?
So the issue there is not a license, a driver's license. It's a license relating to the vehicle.
Okay.
So that's an operating license. So I think just to take a step back, regulation which governs this operating license was written at a time before smartphone technology was even contemplated. So we're living in a world where regulation is really lagging innovation. And it's difficult to say, strictly speaking, what type of subcategory Uber really neatly fits into. Does it fit into a metered taxi? Does it fit into a chartered services category? So this is something that we identified early on. And we've been having proactive discussion and debate with the City of Cape Town, trying to identify what the correct subcategory should be.
Okay, to ensure that then
Exactly.
your drivers are compliant.
We want to ensure that the drivers are legal and they have the correct permits to be on the road.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time today. Uber spokesperson, Alon Litz. Now, consumers across Africa's largest economies tightened their belts over the festive season after plummeting oil prices put pressure on currencies in Nigeria, Ghana and South Africa. But some analysts say a weaker currency is not necessarily a bad thing.
Emerging markets across the globe saw their currencies tumble at the end of 2014, mostly due to falling oil prices. Africa was no exception.
Oil has dropped by as much as 30%. And therefore, when we earn less, we have less to spend.
Business and consumers alike felt the hit from Nigeria to South Africa.
And the sales is very good before, but not now. Now the business is very dull. We are still expecting some people to come and buy. Don't see them, we don't know what is happening.
But according to business publication and consultant Ventures Africa, a weak currency is not always a bad thing in the long run. Adding that the economic system as we know it is dissolving into a new world order. So the question lies, what does constitute the power of a currency?
Well, some analysts say that the rand is in danger of slipping back towards 6-year lows of around 11 rand 84 to the dollar under the current risk-shy climate, which has favored dollar buying. Investors are concerned about South Africa's large budget and current account deficit, budget and trade deficits, as well as an unreliable electricity supply. Mabian Impiri of ACM Gold joins me now to discuss the rand's current performance against the dollar and some of the causes of its current weakness. Mabian, thanks so much for your time this evening. Not a good start to the year, around 1170 today.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite shocking actually. That's actually pretty high. I mean, 1160, 1170 at some point. One of the major impacts is the fact that we're not fully enjoying the oil drop.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're still importing it at a higher level of the dollar-rand exchange rate.
Yeah. What are the factors then that are driving the currency at this point?
I think mainly, I mean, obviously there's quite a few factors, but I think mainly is the dollar strengthening. And as a result, there's been a lot of pressure on emerging markets. And sentiment isn't so great within the emerging markets.
Yeah.
And that's also partially, actually, quite a lot to do with falling commodity prices. And that just has taken all investments to America. There's been capital flight and just more confidence in the US dollar. And as a result, we sort of seeing that volatility.
And how are we doing when we look at our peers in emerging markets? Because even in this risk-shy environment, South Africa already in itself has its own domestic problems. So in addition to the global problems that you're talking about, we have domestic issues that make it difficult for capital to flow this way, even with our interest rates being at the rate that they are.
Precisely, and I think that's what's making a lot of investors very shy in terms of investing in South Africa. We have power constraints, we've got labor union issues, and our competitiveness in the exports slowing down. Yeah. So those structural issues that South Africa has is sort of just adding on to the pressure that we're seeing as the international community and the global growth actually slows down. Yeah. Seen China and also, I mean, Europe has its own troubles as well, and I think that's just making things...
Is there anything that the Minister of Finance can say in a couple of weeks' time to calm the storm?
Look, At the end of the day, we need to focus on long-term growth.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to see a bit of a dip in terms of the performance of the economy within the next couple of years. But I think if we focus on getting productivity up and really addressing those challenges like unemployment and education, and also building a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurship, I think that will slowly start to contribute to an increase in demand for the rand and boost the exports. And I think that should help in the long term. That's the only immediate solution that I could see.
Let me put you on the spot. 31st of December, where are we going to be? Rand dollar.
Rand dollar, look, I think it will stabilize a little bit. So I don't think it will continue in the trend that we're currently seeing. I'm looking at somewhere, it should drop back to about, I would say...
Give me a rate.
1 to 10.
A Rand bull. Rand bull. Okay, I'll hold you to it. That was Mabebenini Piri, who is with ACM Gold. A daily question and answer feature that's neat to know is up next. Do stay with us.